All right. Hey, everybody. This is Perch, and this is a really special interview we have here today because we're talking to a few people. We're talking to the family of Ed Piskor. How are you all doing?
Yeah, I think we're hanging in there.
Yeah, we're doing as good as expected.
That's right. You know, we're all just trying to keep our head above water.
Yeah, and you've had a busy couple days. You were just at Baltimore, the ComicCon.
Yeah, we attended the Ringo Awards.
Beautiful. Before we jump in there, tell us how did that go? How was that? How did it come across?
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great night.
Yeah, it was a very special evening. They had a lot of great speakers, a lot of great speeches. It was just
the presenters were hysterical. Every single one of them was so funny.
Yeah, and it was very well put together.
Oh, yeah,
and it moved very smoothly. No hiccups.
Yeah, I thought it was a great night. We got to meet a lot of people that we haven't had the opportunity to meet yet.
Yeah, we met Dean Haspiel.
Yeah.
We met
John Simpson was there, and we're hanging out with him for a bit.
Yeah, he introduced us to a few other people, and unfortunately,
it was loud, so we couldn't
don't remember their names.
Yeah, it was a sensory overload.
Yeah.
We were all in cocktail hour in a hallway where there's just people on top of people, and
crowded.
Yeah, there was lights and sounds, and yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's nice that there's these celebrations of comics in kind of a time where I think a lot of things are changing in comics right now. So these traditions matter a lot, I think.
What I think is really cool is that it allows you to put faces to names.
Yeah.
Because you hear a lot of names, but you don't necessarily get to see faces. So it was really cool to actually see these people and like get to talk to them in person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Just been thrown into this world. We're finally like recognizing, like we've been to 2 award shows now, and like I was like, oh wait, that book was at the Eisners too. So we're starting to finally like know who people are.
Yeah,
I'm anxious to talk to you about that because, like you said, you have been thrown into this. But real quick, before we get there, for people who are tuning in, listening to this, the primary reason why I'm talking today is there's a project that we want to get some people's attention to, and can you tell us a little bit about that project?
So we are working with Zoop to crowdfund Switchblade Shorties. It would be our brother's final project. His final project. But we were very excited to get that into the hands of everybody. It's fantastic. It shows a whole different art style of our brothers, and you could just see the amount of fun he was having while drawing it, while lettering it, while inking it. I mean, it's his style amped up.
And it was definitely like a passion project. So he was more laid back with it and just having more fun with it.
And if you're from the area, like you'll recognize a lot of names and just places, especially Shop and Save, local store that we have here. Like everybody would know it if they see it.
There's a lot of like nostalgia references. Yeah. The character names are very interesting.
An interesting way of speaking.
Yeah,
different.
Yeah,
phonetic, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Everything's is phonetic. And like I said, the character names are fun. Once you start reading it, then it'll all click that like where he came up with the names of the characters.
Yeah. It's a really cool project. I've seen quite a bit of it. Some of this has been posted or maybe all of it. I'm not sure. It was posted on Webtoons for a while.
Yeah.
This is getting collected and printed, right?
Yeah. I think there's a batch that they were agreed they were not going to post. So there is some part of the book that has not been seen yet, but
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did get to. He was having a lot of fun doing that, and I didn't know until recently on the Switchblade Shorties Instagram account that after he would post each strip, he would narrate it and kind of explain each story, which definitely caught me off guard. So I've only listened to the first one, but we have to go back, and I want to, but. Hearing his voice just took me off guard.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, but
it's It's a really it's a fun. It's definitely Ed Piskor's style. I mean, you definitely see him in it. And I think if you look at the comic strips, and there'll be some preview arts on the page, and everything you can see from Zoop. So you definitely got to recognize him in it. But the premise here, it's kids solving the world's problems without the interference of adults. That's kind of the
100% accurate. And there's a lot of fun obstacles. Like any story, there's some interesting characters that they run into, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a great series. I mean, honestly, so I've looked at I've looked at what's been posted on Webtoon. Like you said, I understand there's more to it, but it's funny because it definitely, you're reading this, and if you listen to Cartoonist Kayfabe, you're a fan of that, or the comic work that he's done, it's all going to be very, very familiar. But the humor is just it plays along really nicely. So I love the project. I'm really glad that they're putting it together like this.
Absolutely, we've spent a lot of time with the people at Zoop to add some extra like bonus content as well. So
few surprises in there.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be a little bit more than just Switchblade in it. A little personal like touch of ours to help out and like for our healing process as well. So it's going to be really exciting.
I can imagine. Now, I don't want to get into anything too sensitive for you, but you mentioned earlier kind of stepping into this world and under the circumstances, I mean, I feel terrible for you having to come into comics this way, but how involved were you in comics, years ago? Is this a new thing for all of you?
So my brother and I, growing up, we used to attend the Pittsburgh ComicCon when we were like really young. Like our parents would get us a hotel room, the Monroeville like Expo Mart, and we would stay for the weekend. And my brother would have a sketchbook, and he would take it around and show it to all the artists, and we would just literally just have the best 3 days of our lives, just running up and down, meeting people, and just causing chaos. But like early on when he started drawing, I would help out a lot with him when he would put together his zines. We'd set up at the table, get all of his pages, and we would all just sit there and just start stapling. And then he didn't have a driver's license for a while. So his first couple of cons, I was the one that took him there. So like I've definitely dipped my toe in the comic world early on with him, but like, that wasn't my passion. Now that, has since passed, it's the art world and the comic world, they lost, a very important figure in our eyes. He opened up so many people to new artists and gave people a platform with Cartoonist Kayfabe to really express themselves. And, his shoot interviews that he would do with all the different artists, all the different writers. I mean, I feel like it's changed the game a lot. And we just want to keep continuing that legacy, giving opportunities to other artists, maybe introducing them to somebody, anything that we can do to help out. That's what we want to do, because, a lot of people have reached out to us and expressed how much our brother meant to them. And we just want to keep paying it forward.
I mean, that's huge. I think, Ed's a incredibly remarkable person that really wound up hitting kind of three major parts of comics. And I was thinking about this as, preparing to talk to all of you. He was certainly a storyteller in his own right. This comic that's out with Zoop, I definitely, check that out. It's a storyteller telling a story, which is tremendous, and it's just all of his work has a storytelling spirit to it. He also became this historian, if you will, or this bridge of keeping kind of comic memory alive, and that's. I don't know how many, if people have expressed this to you, but to me, this is one of the biggest parts of him, because a lot of this comic history is just vanishing. The big companies do not feel it doesn't seem they're very motivated to keep a lot of this history alive. It's kind of the moment of whatever's happening now. And the creators behind a lot of this work get really pushed behind, the character that's going to be on the big screen. That's what's going to be remembered. And the creators kind of get pushed back. So he carried that torch, and certainly with Cartoonist Kayfabe, but also a lot of what he did at shows. And then kind of this third pillar of making it okay for people to have another art style or another storytelling style. And that last piece is one that, I mean, I've been in and around comics since the 80s and with a store and doing interviews and just kind of lots of different things. And it comes in waves, but Ed made it comfortable for people to just be themselves in what they created. And his style, very unique, very different, certainly not the corporate style. And yet he's telling indie stories. He's wound up telling a story through Marvel. It made it okay for this to happen. And so if you don't mind me saying so, I just, those three pillars, it's so rare that you have people that hit two of those, and he hit kind of three major parts of comics.
Yeah. So he was always very self-aware of the people that paved the way for him. And that, I feel like, is lost in a lot of things, not just in comics, but just in life in general, like paying respect to those who've, done this before them. And I think that that's super important to really respect the industry. And he just did that. I mean, but he was also very confident in his ability. And that's why, like, he would go out there and like throw these Hail Marys and X-Men.
Right? When he won his first Eisner, my husband and I picked him up at the airport to bring him home, and he goes, "Yeah, I just tweeted out to Marvel, hey, I want to redo X-Men."
He said Marvel should let me make any X-Men comic that I want, and then they did.
and then after that, he was able to help, get Jim Rugg his own, and Jolie his own, and who knows what else, So he was a one of a kind person.
He's definitely that person that would have all these different groups of friends, and then he would bring them all together, and it just became like this big unstoppable force.
Yeah. He brought people up with him, which is not, again, not common in this industry. He
definitely was not selfish at all.
No. He wanted people to learn like he was learning.
Because I can remember him when he came back from the Kubert school, he was given essentially his marching orders, right? Go out there
and find work
and just submit work. And the struggle that he went through for 3 years before anything really even came to be. I mean, but it didn't stop him. And that was just the work ethic. And he would teach people and talk to people. And like, I've heard so many stories of up and coming artists that have come up to us and said, "Man, your brother gave me 5 minutes of advice for free, and it was the best advice I've ever received." And that's just who he was.
Yeah. No, he was again an incredible talent, but an incredible friend. It sounds like, from a lot of the people who were close to him. Who, I mean, so many people in this industry have gotten that break and come up, and immediately the school friends and the people kind of become the distant past, and it, he always brought people up with him. His show that got, that was another thing that kind of came out of nowhere. I remember when this first launched, it was this tiny little independent show, like many other things, and then he was doing very real interviews with people, and I think nobody had really seen anything like that before. And for a lot of people, and I there's a few of us kind of in this space where they don't really know what to do with people like this. Now, he did it far better than I think anyone else has, of, paying tribute to the past, clearly a love of comics, saying things that you don't hear from the big two, pretty fearlessly. How would people approach you with that?
So, like, what's crazy to me is it's like, I can speak from my experience here that, like, everybody's talking about how much Cartoonist Kayfabe changed them.
it brought them back
to
the
pick up the pencil again
pencil and to work on their craft.
It also taught them other artists to look at.
Yeah, they were getting sent, so many things to look at, and there's things that they're opening it live in front of the computer and giving their solid advice, and people are taking it and so thankful. I mean, we have so many things here that people sent them and that they reviewed, and it just helped them if they're catching their break or just getting better or whatever it might be. But
and it also gave people a level of confidence too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's just what you need, is just somebody to reassure you that you're on the right path or you're doing the right things.
That you're really good at what you're doing, and it's worth getting published.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that, and I believe Ed and Jim helped a lot of people in that respect.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, you had a lot of people certainly have commented over the years that the show was running and everything else, but it was a common story of, people who didn't feel like they had a place in comics until they started listening to the show, taking this advice and realizing they can do things on their own and they can keep pushing. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a lot of careers came back as a result of this, this show and kind of the care and the time they put into it. For all of you, I mean, this isn't, like I mentioned it before, this is not a great way to kind of be part of this industry, to enter in this way. I mean, I'm just so impressed with the positivity that you bring, being in this space. It's got to be really hard.
Here's the thing: is if we could easily be angry, we could easily be sad, we could easily just sit here and do nothing. But what is that going to do? It's not going to help us heal. It's not going to help us. I don't want to say move on, because I hate that cliche.
Yeah.
It's a way for us to embrace the world that Eddie was part of. It's a way for us to physically heal. And again, there's still so many people out there that care, respect, and value what Eddie has done for the comic community. So that's our mission here, is just to keep that going.
What he wanted Switchblade Shorties to be out there. So we're just honoring him, and
we're honoring his last wishes.
Yeah, his legacy is so important to all of us, and we just never, ever want him to be forgotten.
And we just want people to keep saying his name and keeping him alive in that instance.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I'm sure going to the shows as you have been and meeting people. I mean, you got to be surrounded with a ton of gratitude that you're doing this. I remember, and it's obviously not the most important thing, but after his passing, there was a lot of angst around where the show was going to go. And it was because people wanted to keep him alive and wanted to keep hearing his voice and wanted this, to remember. They didn't want this to disappear. And so, I mean, I guess, on behalf of myself, a lot of people, I just want to say thank you, because it would be probably, I imagine it would be easier to quote unquote move on, but there's too much value not to move on.
Sure. There's so much stuff out there that hasn't even been seen yet.
Yes.
And
we're just getting started.
Yeah.
And the San Diego ComicCon was my first true ComicCon that I've been to. And what a ComicCon to be, first, right? So we had our Piskor t-shirts on the first day we got there, because we were meeting up with Jordan, figured it would be an easy way for him to find us.
I like it.
I cannot tell you how many people walked up to us.
I mean, we couldn't even walk down a full aisle without getting stopped.
My mom and we took one step on the showroom floor, and we were already I don't want to say swarmed, but we had one person immediately come right up to us.
I mean, if you would have told me ever in my lifetime that I would be at San Diego Comic-Con and have someone say, "Hey, Justine," by name, what?
But it just speaks to the fact that people really want to keep being part of this, and so it's transformed into a legacy. So its legacy is living on, and the advice and the stories. So it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to us. I'm telling you, like, our brother meant so much to this world that he was gone way too early, and it's
he didn't get his 25 summers.
Ugh. No, I mean it was absolutely terrible. But again, I'm very thankful that you're still pushing the work forward, that you're putting this out, getting some of these comments out. I mean, he was so prolific in how much he created. I mean, that was a crazy part. He certainly wrote, drew, did stories, but I mean, all of the shows, all of the background. You mentioned the on Instagram, the kind of the notes on the strips for this project. Just there's so much material out there, and it meant so much for people.
What's an eye-opening experience? My wife said this to me. It was just like, we sit at these award shows and like the different categories, and then you hear like the speeches. I want to thank my letterer, my colorist, this person. It's like, and he did everything by himself. Like he was so just multi-talented, and it's just like it blows my mind that one person can sit down and do all of these things. And it was our brother. Like, it just mind blowing.
He did it all.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did, from soup to nuts.
Which I think for a lot of people starting out in comics, that becomes the intimidating thing. There's been a lot of people who've been defeated kind of really early on because they learned one part of the crap but nothing else, and so they felt intimidated. I can't do those other pieces. Sure. And I remember this is something that Ed has said before of look, if you don't have somebody that's by your side to do this other piece, just do it. It doesn't really matter. Just get the work out there. The practice will, you'll learn. Just an incredible talent. And just unfortunate that a lot of people came. He gathered so much of an audience, with that Marvel book, with Cartoonist Kayfabe, kind of really in the last 5 years or so. We got so much more of him, which was awesome. But I'm struck by what you say. We were cheated out of a lot of summers there with him.
Yep.
So this book, you're putting it out. You're doing this campaign with Zoop. Jordan's an awesome guy, by the way. I'm really glad you're working with him. He cares so much about the projects he does. How has that been, kind of putting this all together? How's that experience been for you?
It's been brand new and very overwhelming, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're learning a lot of interesting aspects to the industry and
how much really goes into publishing a book.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So thankfully, I have some graphic design ability, and I've been kind of self-taught for like the last 20 years or so. So I actually got to do a lot of like graphical work for this. So it's been kind of fun to get involved this heavy in a project. There's some stuff that we're doing on different levels of like once it gets released on Tuesday, it'll make more sense. But there's going to be a lot of extra stuff that we're working on for the launch. So it's going to be really cool, and I'm very happy to say that like I get to add my artistic ability to this project.
It becomes part of the family. And you're doing it the way he did it. You're self-taught and kind of. I mean, that then said he did go to the Kubert school, but I'm curious. There were the comments. I know he's commented on in the past. It was a mixed bag, I think is kind of how he would describe it. Is that fair to say?
I mean, there for the 1 year. Yeah. They basically told him, well, we can't really teach you anything.
Yeah, like
I mean, his portfolio is insane. I just seen it for the first time after he passed.
Yeah,
and it is insane. Like, you cannot believe that somebody 18 years old is doing something this well.
Yeah, I'll never forget moving him in, and then it was like it just seemed like the next day we were turning around and moving him back home, and it was just a quick process.
Yeah, and he had a good time at the Kubert school, but like they told him in the beginning, nobody gets A's their first year. Yeah, Eddie did.
Like,
No, but and then they're like, we really can't teach you anything else.
it's really incredible, the things that were in this portfolio.
Yeah, he was very candid about it, that when he was called in to the office, essentially, they gave him a list of contacts, and this is what you need to do. Reach out to these people and just keep working, keep drawing, keep writing, and just keep sending stuff out, because eventually something's going to happen.
And then one day, Harvey Piskor called the house, and my husband answered, and he's there. Yeah, I'm Ed Piskor, and he goes, "Oh, the cartoonist." And he goes, "Oh, me, my son."
And you're enjoying this, though. I'm putting the book together, doing all this, kind of bringing the portfolio. You seem. I just kind of look at you. You seem just smiles. You seem happy in being part of this.
You get lost in your life, working.
Yeah.
We have kids. She's doing hair constantly, and you just, we were working.
I
from home, and you get lost.
Work from home, and I see nobody for a whole until Saturday.
Being able to go through these things, you just, like, a lot of it brought up memories, and I can remember him sitting at the table drawing this thing, or
and on Sunday dinners, he would bring his sketchbook.
Yeah, and show what he's been working on,
and we would sit down together and draw together. His sister, me, his girlfriend, Bobby's daughter, and we would sit there and take turns drawing our interpretation of whatever it was that he threw out to us.
Usually a monster or some kind of, like, already known cartoon character, usually Mario brother of some sort.
Like I
Toad.
Never went to that one sketchbook that him and Serena and I were drawing in, and
I have a bunch of them at my house. So,
and all I can remember is he says, draw an apple. Well, I decided to draw a bad apple, and it was just the core of the apple.
I love it.
With a face on it, and I'm there's your bad apple, and he goes, "Mom, that's pretty good."
I love it. So the funny thing about all this is or I guess another really, a nice outcome is that the family aspect of Ed's life and what he created. I mean, that's what a lot of people who are into comics, been with comics for a long time, they're used to that corporate side, which is the Wednesday coming into the shop, Marvel, DC. You're bringing the family back to something, and it's got to resonate really, really well. I mean, imagine that's why people are coming up to you at shows and everything else, because they're seeing this the heart and the family behind all of this work.
The family's always been super important to Eddie. I mean, family was always first, and he was always happy to be around us, to get involved in our kids' lives, holidays. Like, he was always like extra special. Like, it's just a very important thing. And, despite the tragedy, it did bring us all a lot closer together. And, it's been tough, but we have to lean on each other.
And I think it's very important for us to humanize him too. I think people see him as this YouTuber, and that's as far as they can see, or a cartoonist, but he was a person with a family, with a private life, and he was more than just Eddie the cartoonist.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I'll ask this question: is it hard to have suddenly all these strangers in your lives? You said you now have a whole collection of
we
friends.
have all these new people in our lives, and it's hard sometimes to pick, like, which one can we trust and which one we can't. But we have truly an amazing support system.
Yeah,
we have a very good circle around us, and I really feel strongly that they have not been steering us in the wrong way at all.
Yes, our new K family, has really helped us a lot.
We've got some good people in our corner for sure.
Gave us a lot of good pointers, things like that.
No, I'm really glad to hear it. It has not been a kind industry over the years to people. I think there's a lot of magic that has occurred. There's a lot of There's wonderful stories and wonderful creativity that's come out, and a lot of friends and a lot of family, but there's also been a lot of people taken advantage of, and creators who have worked their entire life and struggled right up to the end. I love that you've been able to take this really tragic event and shine this positive light on it.
That's the thing. Like there is a lot of tragedy in comics. I mean, you're hearing a lot about it right now. Like, there's been several cartoonists that have passed away in the last couple months, and it's actually really awful. The keynote speaker last night, I cannot pronounce his last name, but Philip was his first name, Siptak, I think, or something like that. But
I'm the worst person with names. I'll tell you, anybody listening, I have butchered everyone's name in this industry twice.
Yeah. Well, his speech just resonated so much with me that, like, it's the same thing that Rob Liefeld put out the day after Eddie passed away, that like the world just needs to be kinder. But in the speech last night, Sablak. Yeah. But he said that there's enough to go around. There's no need to steal from others or to rob anybody of anything. If you're confident in your ability, then that's what you need to work at, your confidence and your ability to get your stuff out there. You don't need to take from anybody. You don't need to jump in front of a moving vehicle to steal a spot. Like, there's no need for that.
I think it's time we'll celebrate everybody's talent. Sorters look for, just celebrate it all.
Because
it should be fun, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be so serious at all times.
Yeah.
There's more than enough out there to go around for everybody to get a piece of the pie.
Well, that was what's always mad. I mean, the amazing thing about comics, and it hasn't always taken advantage of it, is that with movies, you've got so much budget, you got production, you have kind of a studio that has to get behind it. It's, they certainly have independent filmmakers who can do things, but it's just such a hard bar to get that work out into the world. Mm-hmm. Comics, actually, if you have an idea and a story you want to tell, you can get that message out there. So there's no reason to be so limited. Like I said, there's no reason that only a couple of people get to succeed. Lots of people get to succeed in this business,
right?
Or should.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're confident in your ability and you want to put out a story, what's to stop you? There's nothing in this world that can stop you but yourself.
So this, powerful. The book Switchblade Stories, out from Zoop. It's out on the 24th. So I think this we're going to try and time this so it's going out the same day, so people can get excited about it. No, the campaign will run for a couple weeks, but so I just want to keep reminding people, hey, there is a call to action here. That is, go check out this book. Go check out the story. You're putting all these cartoons there. It tells a complete story, some new stuff you haven't seen before. Some additional material as part of this campaign. Curious, so as you've been doing this, you mentioned it's bringing up a lot of memories of you drawing at the table and kind of a lot of those. Is there a story that you wouldn't mind sharing of Ed that you haven't already? Just something that kind of either relates to this book or something that was a surprise to you that's come up recently?
I was just thinking back to, like, he has all these artist edition books, and he got me into Batman very young. So, like, after he got The Dark Knight Returns, he called me over here and we sat on the floor for hours looking through this book. And it was shortly after he finished, I think, the first part of X-Men. And, JP, call me JP. JP, I'm going to try to do a Batman. See if they'll let me do a Batman. What if they do? And that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I know he could have told that story so great, and I just seen a Batman from him. But he's lots of sketches, so.
And I'm assuming there's lots of sketches around of a lot of these characters.
I have like 25 sketchbooks at my house, and that's not even all of them. Yeah, like full sketchbooks from over the years.
Yeah, he doesn't get rid of any of his artwork.
Have it all.
It's like it's all over the place. I still have some in his workroom at my house before he moved down on his own, and it's just amazing. And one thing in most of his books, he cameoed his father as a character somewhere in the books.
And most of them, yeah, you can find Papa Pooh.
Oh, he's in everything. Yeah, you'll find him in every story that he's ever done.
But he promised me he would not do that to me because he didn't want to mess up how I looked and me get mad at him.
After this book is out and published, as you mentioned, you're keeping this legacy alive. I'm assuming there's more projects, there's more things that you'll probably want to do after this one.
Oh yeah. Like Justine said earlier, we're just getting started.
That's awesome.
Next, we're all going to draw Eddie and publish that. So I'm just
I'm curious his kind of engagement on the internet. He started this show. He puts this thing out. It launches very quietly, really. I mean, he just put it out and started going. And then it was, I remember, as this thing picked up speed, it was very organic at the beginning. There was no advertising for it. There was just word of mouth, and it spread very rapidly, and people tied into it. The internet kind of, at the time he started this channel, and just kind of the general social community, I would say, is often very, very negative. And I was always struck by his show. Certainly was aware that it was negative, but it managed to fly above and away from that on a constant. I mean, he would do these interviews, he'd do these retrospectives and other things, and it was right in the heart of a pretty constant war from different sides of people fighting with each other, usually for no good reason. Did the Ed that we saw on the show always just seemed to kind of ignore it? I mean, it was kind of in the background. Was that what you saw as well? And because a lot of people get really hung up in that negativity and they can't seem to escape it, but he seemed to not let it hit him.
He was always the one to stay out of any kind of drama. He was very, very good at that. And he hated confrontation. He hated arguing. He hated fighting. And, that was just him. Like, he was, again, confident in his ability. He knew that he was on the pulse of something. And the Cartoonist Kayfabe was very important to him and to Jim, and that they wanted to change the way things were being done. And that I wholeheartedly believe that was his goal, was just changing the landscape of the comic world.
Mm-hmm. He also talked to a ton of people. Is there anyone, I'm curious if he did he ever come and kind of chat with any of you going, oh my God, I can't believe I just talked to this person? Like, he talked to some of his legends, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If it was somebody that he knew that I enjoyed reading, he would send me the link to the Kayfabe channel, because he knew I didn't look at it all the time. I was a subscriber and everything, but I have a lot going on my own. But
he had a lot of videos. As it turns out, that would be a full-time job just listening to all the content he made.
Yes. So, like, he sent me one with Bill Griffith.
Oh man, yeah.
Might Zippy the Pinhead. I love that cartoon strip. And he sent me that one. He says, "Mom, I know you'll like this one. Check it out." Yeah.
He was proud of his shoot interviews, and he was just so proud of that show. And
and he would talk to us like, I'm trying to get so and so to come on the show with us, and I think I'm pretty sure he's going to agree to it, and blah blah blah, and he would just build it up, and or oh wow, you wouldn't believe who I just if we like
such an incredible guy.
Yeah.
Well, that's really incredible. I mean, I can't say enough, and a lot of the people I'm sure listen to this and just will go check out the book and everything else. I mean, I people come up at these cons and thank you for keeping this going, but I really, from the bottom of my heart, I can't tell you how much this means to so many people. This industry forgets its history on a constant basis, and so I love the storytelling. I love the indie art style. I love that type of art. I always have, long before I knew who Ed was. But him keeping the history alive is just it's an industry that likes to forget its heroes, and so it's truly amazing. I can't thank you all enough.
Thank you.
Thank you. It means a lot. It really does.
I wanted to be respectful of your time. Again, you give me a long time in talking. Is there any kind of thing that you want a lot of the people listening right now to remember, just beyond what we've already talked about? Is there one thing other than go support the book? The link's in the description. It's all in the video. You're seeing it, but go support this project so we can get more of them. But what would be something to kind of leave people with that they may not know, or that you think it's important for them to remember?
That Eddie was a real human being, and he has a family who unfortunately can see some of the things that they're saying online, and just try to remember that everybody's human and we don't need to always spew the negativity. If we don't have something nice to say, let's just keep it to ourselves.
Here's the big thing. This is the big takeaway, and it's super important for me to just say this, is we live in a society right now where you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yes.
It needs to be the other way around. You're innocent until proven guilty. And that's super important to realize. Yeah.
Yeah. I've talked about this a lot in other shows and with other people. And I absolutely sickened by where this goes with people. And it is that in a desperate attempt to get 15 minutes of attention, they're willing to make all kinds of comments about people, judge them before there's any facts. And it leads to tragedies. And obviously, as you know all too well. So it's terrible that is where we're at as a society. And I do hope that there is coming back from that point. You get amazing storytellers, you get people disheartened by that negativity for 15 minutes of somebody's popularity.
To have one viral tweet, let's just be
real. Yeah.
That's you get your 30 seconds to have that one tweet that gets reshared 1,000 times.
Yep.
For many different ways it could have been handled.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard when you put them up against each other. You have somebody's 10-minute live stream nonsense or viral tweet up against somebody's storytelling that's going to last generations, and just that is not the right price to pay.
Yep. And just know that, like, we're hurt.
Yeah.
Yep. Our lives are forever changed from the events leading up to April 1st.
Yeah. Well, I admire still, like, again, everything that you're doing and your strength. But again, the smiles on your faces earlier, the happiness in going to some of these shows, hearing from people who truly are moved by his work, who will continue to be moved by his work, who listen to these interviews. I mean, that is the joy that comes out of all this. So thank you again so much for keeping that alive. It really means so much, and it is at least the right future outcome from what was really a tragic, horrible event. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and we really appreciate everything.
My mom has something else she needs.
Yes, please. Absolutely.
Yes. I need to pass on the marching orders. Read more comics, make more comics, be kind, and say his name.
That is the perfect finish. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time as well.